She set her wine glass down gently, but with the finality of a judge delivering a sentence. "We're cutting you off. Completely." The steam still rose from my plate of pasta, untouched. Her mother had stopped chewing. Her father leaned back, arms crossed, his expression carefully composed, as if the entire performance had been rehearsed. My daughter sat quietly, staring down at her napkin, the way she always did when she sensed cruelty but didn't yet have a voice strong enough to challenge it. The phone buzzed in my pocket. For a brief moment, I almost ignored it. Some instincts, however, speak louder than humiliation. "Sir," my broker whispered, voice thick with awe, "your company's stock just passed $100 million. I didn't react. The silence thickened, swallowing the room whole. It had started long before this dinner, with small things, a colder glance, a briefer kiss, dinners that began later and ended sooner. Conversations reduced to fragments. Slowly, I became a shadow at my own table. In their eyes, I was failing, weak, a man who had lost his scent for money. And in this house, that was sin enough. But what they didn't see, what they never cared to see, was the decade I bled for something they dismissed. Every rejection, every layoff I buried beneath a smile. Every night I came home with nothing but bitter copper on my tongue and a notebook filled with scribbles of code, market trends, and fragile hope. The startup looked like nothing back then. Just an idea, a name, and a man too stubborn to quit. In that house, love came with conditions. The moment I sold the last of my shares in her father's firm to fund my dream, they began to drift. I remember him saying once over scotch, "Security makes a man, risk makes a beggar." I smiled politely then. He saw ambition as a threat. I saw comfort as a cage. They dressed me in pity that night, as though I was already dead and buried. Even my daughter, the same girl I used to carry to bed on my back, had been coached to stay silent. She wore guilt like cheap perfume, unable to meet my eyes. I glanced at the wine on the table. 2014 Bordeaux. He only opened that bottle for moments like this, when someone's fate was being sealed. They thought they were witnessing my collapse. But by then, I had already shifted the board. 2 years earlier, while they vacationed in Amalfi, I had been sleeping on the floor of my friend's garage in Palo Alto, coding through the night, pitching to investors by day, living off cold burritos and caffeine, while my hands trembled from exhaustion. There was no miracle, just pain, stubborn momentum, and the obsessive repetition that most mistake for madness. That obsession became Novatrace, a real-time predictive market AI so precise, Wall Street first whispered it was sorcery. It wasn't luck. It was relentless, calculated in mine. And I told no one, not even her, especially not her. The night before that dinner, we signed a licensing deal. 5 global banks. $32 million up front. Projected triple-digit growth. But I kept my silence. I wanted them to speak first, to reveal exactly who they thought I was, before the truth surfaced. And they did. "We're cutting you off completely," she repeated, her voice steady. Her father watched me with the look of a man delivering mercy to a wounded animal. Relief washed over her face, as if saying the words absolve her, as if I were a burden finally cast aside. This was the same woman who once held my broken hand in an emergency room, now discarded me like a worn-out credit card. But fate has a peculiar sense of timing. Sometimes it waits until the knife is already deep in your back before it pulls you upward. The phone buzzed again. That perfect moment. "Sir, your company just crossed $100 million. I breathed, let the silence thicken. She froze. He blinked. My daughter's eyes lifted first, uncertain at first, then filled with something unfamiliar, wonder. "I'm sorry," I said calmly. "I have to take this." Without touching my meal, I stood and walked out. No shouting, no grand speeches. Just the quiet exit of a man they had so thoroughly misjudged, and the silent opening of a new world waiting outside that door. 2 months later, the audit struck her father's firm. I never touched it, but the SACE did, after a friend in New York flagged certain irregularities in his ledgers. Files I had quietly collected for years under the cover of polite curiosity. No scandal, No tabloids, just headlines, investigations, and frozen assets. She reached out only once. Not to apologize, but to beg, to ask if I could make it stop. I left the message unread. Last week, I saw my daughter again. She stood at the edge of a tech conference stage, eyes fixed on the screen where my name glowed beneath the words. Keynote speaker. After my talk, she approached me, nervous, clutching a folded piece of paper. "I read about what you built," she said softly. "I didn't know." I nodded. No one did. There was a pause, heavy with the weight of lost years. "I miss you," she whispered. I looked at her, really looked. She still had my eyes. "Send me an email," I said gently. "We'll have lunch." I never needed revenge to be loud. I never needed applause or their apologies. All I needed was that dinner, that phone call, and their silence, because true success isn't loud. Sometimes it enters a room right after you've been asked to leave,